إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. ثم أما بعد، حقوق المسلم على المسلم كثيرة، منها ما هو واجب ومنها ما هو مستحب ومنها ما هو على الاستحباب لكن أقل درجة من المستحب الذي يصل تقريبا إلى درجة الوجوب. When you talk about the rights of each Muslim upon the other, there are many rights, and there are specific rights that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in one hadith. In Bukhari and Muslim mentioned 5, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, and in Sahih Muslim he mentioned 6. He added 1 to those rights, and those are the rights that are either wajib or highly recommended, almost wajib. يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: حق المسلم على المسلم 5. إذا سلم رد السلام، يعني رد السلام أول واحد، عيادة المريض، تشييع الجنائز، إجابة الدعوة، تشميت العاطس. Briefly, I just want to skim over it. Number 1 is to return the salam, to visit the sick, to follow the funeral, to accept or answer invitation, and to say Yarhamukallah to the person who sneezes. And in Sahih Muslim he added 1, أن تنصح له, to advise him. Let's take him one at a time and see. رد السلام. طرح السلام سنة، ورد السلام واجب على الفرد، ولكن إذا كانوا جماعة ورد أحدهم تجزئ. When you say Assalamu alaikum, this is highly recommended sunnah. In fact, this leads you to Jannah. In a hadith that you can't enter the Jannah until or unless you're a believer. And you cannot be a believer unless you're brothers. Look, all those that I'm going to mention to make you brothers. And the Prophet ﷺ told the companions, how can you be united, how can you be brothers? أفشوا السلام بينكم. Say السلام عليكم. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم: لن تؤمنوا، لن تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا، ولن تؤمنوا حتى تحابوا. والأخوة هي محبة. ألا أدلكم على شيء إذا فعلتموه تحاببتم? Shall I tell you something? If you do it, you love one another. Because it's so difficult to think about loving one another. I mean, maybe I don't love him the way that I should. Maybe you want to love, but you can't. Some people just, you like them without even knowing them. And some people you don't like them without even knowing them. So the Prophet ﷺ knows that and realizes that. So he, ﷺ, guided the Sahaba. So in case you would say, how can I like someone I can't like? Say Salaam Alaikum to him, you will like him. Who makes you like him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just say Salaam Alaikum. Follow the Sunnah and do it and see what happens. Similar to if you want to soften your heart, what do? Stroke the head of an orphan. You mean to tell me if you put your hand on the head of an orphan like that and you go home, you're going to be soft-hearted and mashallah? Yes. You see, you're probably thinking, no, you're not. Yes, you will be. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said it will do that. So your strong faith in the command and submitting to the command leads to making it easy. Because everything is in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if someone says Assalamu alaikum to you and you are alone, you must say Wa alaikum assalam at least. Best is to say Wa rahmatullah, and the best Wa barakatuh. Yani Assalamu alaikum, you say Wa alaikum assalam, but you can add Wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, that is the best. If you are a group and someone said Assalamu alaikum, one person says Wa alaikum assalam, that takes care of it. So this is Assalamu alaikum. The second one, Iyadatul Marid. Iyadatul Marid, كذلك Sunnah Mu'akkada. Sunnah Mu'akkada, highly recommended Sunnah to visit the sick. Meaning, if some did visit, not everyone has to go. But if no one visits, everyone is sinful. So someone has to take care of it. It's not a communal where everyone has to go, but if one person does it or few people do it, then it will be, the others will be free from that. كذلك اتباع الجنائز. اتباع الجنائز, following the funeral, also the same way. If some did it, the others don't have to do it. And this is, by the way, from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is almost impossible to visit everyone who gets sick and to follow every funeral, because you have work and you have life and all that. It's kind of impossible. But when you have some people who are able and who are free, they will go. But because of the high reward in it, a lot of people plan their schedule to go. Yeah, imagine following the funeral. The reward in it is the weight of the mountain of Uhud. Praying is the mountain of Uhud, and following is the mountain of Uhud. And why we say mountain weight? Because the day of judgment, actions will be weighed. So the heavier your scale, the better it is. Imagine when you put a whole mountain in your scales for just praying on one person, how long the whole prayer takes. We know there's no ruku' and no sujood, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, you'll be done with that. So even though it's not a must, but it's highly recommended and you should do your best. Ijabatul da'wah must, majority of the scholars said, if it's a wedding. If it's a wedding and someone invited you, the majority of the scholars said you have to fulfill that. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, in many ahadith, encouraging the companions, and some of the scholars concluded that it is wajib. Some of the scholars said it's not wajib. But this is ijabatul da'wah, with conditions. If you are invited to a wedding that has mixed in it, men and women, it's haram to answer the da'wah. So it's not just, oh, this is my brother, he will be upset, and we have to be good to one another, and he's your brother, and you have to strengthen the relationship and all that. No, you don't strengthen any relationship in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things strong. Who makes it strong anyway? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can you disobey Him to make Him help you to strengthen the relationship? So if the invitation involves some haram, you don't answer, rather you tell the person it is haram and he should change. It's not like you try to be so humble, brother, and you lie. I have to go to work, and actually you don't have to go to work. You're just shy to tell the person you're not coming because there are some sins, because he might attack you. Sins? What do you mean sins? This is my mother and my brother and my sister and my friend and my... Yeah, in your brother and mother and sister and friend, lots of haram. There are a few that is halal to be with. The rest of them relatives, but haram to conduct that. So you answer if it's halal. Majority of the scholars, You answer that because you want to share the happiness of your Muslim brother. What if you are invited, Sheikh, to a birthday party? Tell him, have fun. Inshallah, you are 1 year closer to death. We'll see you soon. I'll pray the funeral on you. That's more right than going to celebrate with you then, right, Sheikh? So, إجابة الدعوة, and the final one, تشميت العاطس. الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا عطس فحمد الله فسمتوه أو شمتوه، كلا المعنيين. He said, if someone, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, sneezed and said Alhamdulillah, then you tell him Yarhamukallah. If he doesn't, you don't. Why? Because he didn't appreciate the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to sneeze. Sneezing is healthy, very healthy, and it feels good. I put pepper in my nose to sneeze. Try it, it works.
Sneezing all night.
Even when you are sneezing out of sickness, it still feels good. And you wouldn't like it if something happens where you can't sneeze anymore. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're talking, some exceptions, if you sneeze 100 times in a row and you have allergy or something. But Prophet Muhammad said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْعُطَاسِ وَيَكْرَهُ التَّثَاؤُبِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves sneezing. When you sneeze, He likes it. And when you yawn, He doesn't. Why? Sneezing refreshes you. You're more alert, you're more awake. Yawning drains you. You just want to go to sleep. You're so bored and boring. When someone sees you yawning, you even discourage people to work. If you look at one person, you're working everything, you look at someone practicing to extend his mouth bigger than that rhinoceros, or what is that big animal that in the water that has 2 teeth? You know what? Hippopotamus, yeah. If you know how to spell it, I'll give you $1. You don't want to do that. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا تَثَاءَبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَقْضُمْ. Or كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, try to control yourself not to yawn. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, then cover your mouth. If you can't do it, then cover your mouth and don't say, ha. You yawn and you make a sound. This sound pleases the shaitan. So the shaitan is happy when he hears that sound. Similar to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, happy when you sneeze. So you don't stop the sneeze because it's good and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only likes what's good. And the shaitan likes what's bad. So if the shaitan likes yawning, then for sure it's not good for you. So what do? You don't want to please him. That's your job in this life, to make the shaitan miserable. If your shaitan is healthy, that means you're horrible. Because that means he eats with you, he drinks with you, he sleeps at your house. You're just a horrible person. And if your shaitan is so scrawny and cannot even walk, because every time you want to eat, Bismillah, can't eat it. Want to drink? Bismillah, can't eat it. Into the house, Salaamu Alaikum, he lost it. No sleep. Imagine a shaitan. No food, no drink, no sleep. Trust me, he's not going to be whispering to you too much. Imagine yourself, no food, no water, no sleep. How good are you going to do your job? Horrible. So the shaitan will be horrible because of that. So make sure that your shaitan is suffering all the time. Don't let him be happy. And the Prophet ﷺ added one more, and he said, وَإِذَا اسْتَنصَحَكَ فَانصَحْ لَهُ. If he asked you for an advice, then give him an advice. But give him the advice sufficient for his answer. Don't tell him the life story of the person and how bad he was and how, someone for marriage. Do you know this person? Why? Because such and such. He is coming, wants to marry my sister, my daughter, whatever. You tell him, Wallahi, this person, I know this thing about him. Just like the Prophet ﷺ. One time, he was asked about that, and he said that Abu al-Jahm, I believe, radiyallahu anh, he said, he is a man who doesn't put down his stick. Yani he's always hitting. So chances are he's going to hit that woman. So that's all. It's not like, oh, you know, he sent 2 women to the hospital, one of them broke her leg and one of them broke her rib. You don't have to go in details or anything. If they ask you, some of the scholars said you give the advice even if they don't ask you. Because nasiha, حق للمسلم, advising حق للمسلم, if there is goodness for that Muslim. But unfortunately, nowadays, when you give the nasiha, the one you favored him with the nasiha, or you told him the truth about the nasiha, sooner or later, he would come back at you telling the other person what you said, and then getting in trouble. Because you might give him the advice and he decides, well, he sees things are good and he doesn't take your nasiha, and he gets married and the relationship strengthens. And you know, I asked Sheikh Hassan about you before I got married, and he actually advised me not to marry, you know. He has good intention, yani, mashallah. He was praying. I asked him when he was in tahajjud, and now you're going to have a wonderful relationship with that person. Actually, it did happen. It did happen. It was the worst relationship from 2 friends so close. And it was an advice from an imam to another person about what he knows. And it worked. So those rights, make sure you apply them. And if it's not wajib, then apply it, because highly recommended. Advice enough, which is sufficient, but don't extend or exceed the limits. And always be keen to give the rights to people a lot more than receiving the rights. Because if you do that, inshallah, your sincerity will be higher and your reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be more. And you train yourself to always good. Don't limit yourself to, this is fard, then I do it. This is wajib, then I do it. This is sunnah, I don't have to do it. No. Look at everything as something pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do your best to do everything. You'll find yourself, inshallah, doing everything easily. أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يجزينا وإياكم خير الجزاء ويبارك لنا في أوقاتنا وفي صحتنا وفي أعمالنا وبارك الله فيكم. تفضل.
Is it okay to call a sick?
To call?
To call a sick person, not to visit them, just to call.
Yeah, actually, when you talk about visiting people, it's anything that accomplishes the pleasure to that person. If you cannot see him in person, definitely a phone call would be highly appreciated. Some people would look at it as if you visited them. If you send salam with someone, it's good, but it's better when you speak directly. Because if I can tell you, tell him salam alaikum, Sheikh Hassan said salam alaikum. Why Sheikh Hassan is not here? Why did he call me? He knows my number. So it makes it even worse. So text message will do the same thing. Anything that commonly used between people nowadays with the media and all of that, you could, if you see someone passed away and you send a text message, whether it's Facebook or a text message or WhatsApp or any of that, inshallah, will do the job. But knowing the person and your close relationship to that person, at least you do that. If you want to do more, you do. But the least that you can do is call or text or any of that. And visitation to the sick is like that. But when a person dies, going to, what do you call that stuff? Bayt al-Aza or Bayt al-Ajr. I don't know how they call it, Bayt al-Ajr. Bayt al-Aza, this is, it's never existed before, and I know people will tell you this is different and you have to go with people and we have time and we have this and that. We agree to all of this, but it is a burden. it is a burden on people who do it. People who do it, they're not there to serve you coffee and dates and food. The sunnah is to feed them, not them to feed you. The sunnah is to see them, pray on the funeral, you fulfilled. Follow at a funeral, you fulfilled. Phone call or meet him in the salah, you've done the job. It is not to just go and socialize, because honestly, nowadays, that's all it is. I don't see any goodness in it. Sometimes I go and participate, even though deep inside I don't believe in it and I don't want to go, but I take the opportunity of passing a message to those people who are there from that aspect, even though I'm still even doubtful if I get rewards for that. But because to people who don't know would think that I'm participating because I'm approving. Some people don't even know what's right and what's wrong. Some people come to it, they don't even pray. Some people come to the janazah and they stay outside and they don't pray. So it's more of social thing, a lot more than doing the rights of the Muslim. The sunnah of the companions radiallahu anhum, if they pray, if they follow the funeral, if they meet in the salah, to make the ta'ziyah, to make dua for the person, to cook or do something for him, you don't want to renew the sadness, and you don't want to make sadness permanent. يعني Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam توفي. If you lose your mom, or you lose your dad, or you lose your son, you're going to just make a reminder every week and a reminder every 40 days and 6 months. And then at the end of the year, you go and you post something on Facebook, and then you go, people will make dua. People, I don't know. All of those things are doubtful. All of those things are not known in the Sunnah, because just because the Sahaba don't have Facebook and don't have social media doesn't mean they don't have other means where they can, on the end of the year, they can pass by each other and say, you know, today is like a year ago my dad passed away, please make dua for him. Did anyone ever do that? No. That means doesn't exist. I don't care how you put it and how you make it and what's your intention. Actions needs intention. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. You have intention good, the action has to be good. Is your action good? No, it's not. Why? Because you don't have a proof. Where is قال الله, قال الرسول, عمل الصحابة? Did the companions do it? No. Are you going to be better than them? Did the Prophet ﷺ do it? No. Are you going to be better than him? No. So I know you're going to find some people liking this or not liking this, but the criterion and the judge is the proof. If I don't have a proof, my worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to not worship Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know that no deity worthy of worship but Allah. Do I know that this is allowed? No, I don't. How do I have a proof? No, I don't. Therefore, I don't do it. But they get upset and you make friends. I don't want those kind of friends. If I need to make my friends on displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm not in need for that friendship. I will do it kindly, of course. You don't want to be rude and you don't want to just attack people like that. You know, you do it with wisdom, with hikmah, little by little, because people are so far away from the teachings of the Islam, and you don't want to just come and dump it on one time. Maybe you go and you mention and you visit at home and you advise here and there and you let people know, so you take it smoothly. You don't want to be rude. At the same time, you don't want to fall in haram. So you have to have wisdom in dealing with all of this. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى لنا ولكم العافية. بارك الله فيكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.